Hi there, Andre here from Peak Motorcycles. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Rally Raid rear rack for the Honda CRF300L and Honda CRF300 Rally, and I'll be putting it on my Rally. So this is made by Rally Raid in the UK. Of all the racks I've looked at so far, and I think this is the fourth one, this one looks the best finished by a fair margin. It's made from aluminium, it's 4mm plates, but it's been very well made, and actually the way it looks really fits the back of the bike. It has some mounting holes where you could put a Rotopax adapter, and also some extra M6 holes on the sides if you wanted to add any other accessories. It does come with these four very robust mounting bolts. I mean, they are huge, and actually they feel pretty heavy compared to the rack itself. Rally Raid say the whole thing weighs 850 grams, so I will check that. I will also be comparing it to the Yamoto rack that I have on my bike at the moment. So this has been my favourite one so far, simply because it was lighter than the others. Also made from sheet aluminium. It is thinner, so I suspect it's not as strong as the Rally Raid. It may also be lighter. It did have loops which fitted really well with my Enduristan Blizzard panniers, so I'll be interested to see how those fit with this. I'll give you a close-up look at this rack. I'll then just remind you how the Blizzard panniers fit to the Yamoto rack that's on the bike. I'll take the Yamoto rack off, I'll do a weight comparison side by side. I'll then put this one back on, just check how it all fits, and give you my final conclusions. So one of the key things for me was how it would fit with my Enduristan Blizzard panniers. Now these work best when they're easy to put on and off. So I'm just going to put those on the bike like that. The key bracket when fitting these panniers is this one here, and it's actually two alloy hooks which need to hook sideways on, and they kind of lock into each other, and that's what's then used to secure the panniers at the rear. So on this rack they actually work quite well because they fit into the two slots I have on either side, one there and one there, and that is a really good fit. So that is really what I'm looking to be able to reproduce with the Rally Raid rack, and if I can, then I think it'll probably become my go-to rack. So all of the Honda racks mount in pretty much the same way. There's four bolts, one at the front there, one at the back there, and it's the same on this side. So I'll just quickly take these off. I'm now going to do a closer look at the Rally Raid rack and then weigh them and do a quick comparison. So to give you a close-up look, as you can see, it's made from 4mm aluminium. It's really nicely formed. I'm a big fan of engineering when it's like this. It looks all laser cut. It's got the two holes in the top that will take a Rotopax. These are the extra M6 holes in the side, two mounting holes on each side, and lots of places to put gear. Now there's just a few little things, like you can see that's slightly recessed out. I guess that's just on this edge, I guess that's just to stop any webbing or straps that go around there, to have something to lock against. The same at the back. You know, you have the holes here, and then there's a little bit of an edge just on the just there. So if you did have any webbing around there, then it's not going to slip off. Other than that, not really a great deal to say, other than it is quite substantial. It is made of alloy, but it is really nicely made. The next thing to show you are these mounting bolts. Now these are really heavy duty, so it looks like it's made from milled, I'm guessing stainless. They might be alloy, but they feel too heavy for that. But yeah, no, really high quality, really nicely machined. I think that basically goes into the hole, replaces the stock parts that come with the bike, including the spacer at the end. What I'll need to check is whether that will work with my Moose strap. I have a feeling it might not, just simply because these are nice countersunk bolts that go on the end, and my Moose racing strap is not. The next thing I'm going to do is do a quick weight comparison. So first up, I'm going to weigh my Yamoto rack that came from Thailand, that was on the bike. That rack itself is quite heavy, 840 grams, and actually, you know what, I thought it might have been lighter than that, because the weight of the Rally Raid is stated to be 850, so that is almost where it is. That is all the mounting hardware that comes with it. It's the spacers and the bolts, so I'll put that on as well. And we are at 947 grams, which is nearly 100 grams heavier than the stated weight of the Rally Raid. Now, I've no reason to think that the Rally Raid website is wrong where it says 850, but I am going to weigh it just because some people like that stuff. So the Rally Raid rack, which is actually made from thicker material, albeit slightly smaller, weighs in at 578 grams, so that is definitely lighter. Now this is the bit that I think is going to tip the scales. When I add the heavy duty mounting bolts, we actually get to 937 grams. Actually, that's pretty much the same weight as the Yamoto rack. Now, that's good in a way in that it's not heavier. I thought it might have been. It is heavier than it says on the website, and by quite a lot. I think the website says 850, and this is 937, so 10% heavier than stated. The other thing to bear in mind is that the Yamoto rack is bigger. So if you're looking to put a bigger holdall on, then it might actually be a better bet for you. What I will do just as a last thing is I'll just do a quick side-by-side comparison so you can see how the two racks compare. There you go, so you can see the two racks sort of forward is this way on each one. So they do look kind of similar. If I put that over the top, you'll be able to see much better just how big a size difference that makes. So the Yamoto one comes further back, extends beyond the back of the bike. It's also much wider. It's a much wider platform all the way across. That said, it does also look kind of ugly when it's on the bike. Sorry guys at Yamoto, but it's you know, the bike comes to a tapered point somewhere around here, and this does stick out a long way. So great if you've got a big holdall to put on, whereas I think the Rally Raid one will look better actually when it's on the bike. Looking at them side on, you know, kind of similar. Again, the Yamoto is much bigger. They've both got these extra M6 mounting holes. There's 2 of them on the Rally Raid. There's 3 of them on each side on the Yamoto. In terms of places to put tapes, to put webbing, they're further apart, which might be a bit more stable on the Yamoto. They're closer together here at the front, as well as at the back on the Rally Raid. Having said that, I'm a big fan of trying to keep as much in the panniers as possible and not loading up the back unless you absolutely have to. So I do still have some high hopes for this Rally Raid rack. Lastly, they both have a laser cut branding thing on them. The Rally Raid one is a little bit bigger and is on top. The Yamoto one is quite discreet and at the side. So there you go. That is everything to show them side by side. I'm now going to put the Rally Raid one back on the bike, and then I'll see how my panniers fit. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is that these 4 spaces are the 4 spaces that come on the bike that actually fit into the holes and actually keep the metal to metal as a standoff on the plastic. The Rally Raid fitting points do actually have these on. Now these are made of alloy, they don't really weigh that much, so I don't think it makes a big difference to the weigh-in. But nevertheless, if you're going to use these, then you don't need the stock bits, but keep them in case you want to take it off. The other thing is that this definitely won't work with my Moose racing strap, which I had across the back of the seat. Now I was going to use the old bolts that I had, but actually looking at the shape of this rack, and I think this edge in particular, is probably not so bad for actually using it as a grabbing point, as a lifting point. It'll be on the bike that way around. So what I'm going to do is actually not put that strap back on, and I'm actually going to try it just with the rack as it is, with the bolts as it came. And then I suppose that is another thing, although again, doesn't weigh very much, to consider as part of the weight saving. Right then, I will fit this to the bike. One thing I will say is that this is certainly a lot less fiddly than having to manage the spacers and make sure everything goes together the right way. So that is now installed on the bike, and I actually quite like how that looks. I think it certainly follows the lines better than any of the racks that I've looked at. I think it really does look quite good. Looks, of course, are not everything, but from a weight perspective, it's the same as the Yamoto, pretty much. And yeah, I think I will leave it on. The other thing that I did find is that I won't be able to fit my Moose racing strap back across those without changing out the bolts. I can change out the bolts as an option if I really need it, but actually that as a handle to actually grab the bike is, I think just because the metal's that bit thicker, it's 4mm, certainly with gloves on, I think you'd be able to grab a good hold of that and give it a good yank if you needed to. So yeah, I think I'll leave that exactly as it is. So the very last thing I need to check is to see how my panniers, how the bracket for my panniers would fit. Just pull that up and out. So if you remember from before, it's these two metal loops need to just hook in, and then that then pulls across. So put one in there. Can't quite get it in those holes, so it doesn't work on those ones. It does work on those, and actually that's probably a better place for them anyway, now I look at it. Yeah, that's pretty good. That actually pulls forward like that. And where the webbing goes, it's actually a pretty good line down to the panniers themselves. So yes, hopefully you can see that all right from there, but that's actually a pretty good fit like that, and still leaves the rest of the rack free. The way that the webbing actually follows the rack itself is a bit nicer than on the Yamoto one, because on the Yamoto one it was wider and had steep sides. Here it does actually follow those lines down. In fact, those could even be pulled up a little bit shorter as a result. So yeah, pleased with that. I think this is going to be my new rack that I will leave on my bike. So while that does seem to be a good place to put them, the only thing I can see is that if I wanted to use the Rotopax as well, which I guess I might do, that's not great. So what I think I can do is just shuffle those forwards. So instead of putting them there, no, still won't go through those ones. Just going to put them around these loops here. Now, it's not ideal. Yeah, so the only problem with using, so those holes are fine. These holes are almost fine as well. They just they kind of gets a little bit in the way of that. I think what I'd probably actually do, if I wanted to use a Rotopax with it, which is going to use these two bolts, and also use webbing around the rear there, I'd actually just put it onto the back of here. Now I know that that's what these are actually designed for. They're designed to fit around plastics, but they will fit around 4mm alloy plate just as well. So I think, pull that through, there we go. So yeah, I actually think that having it like that is probably my preferred mounting option for the panniers. Yeah, by doing that I can keep the Rotopax loops free, so if I did want to put a fuel pack on top of that while using it with my panniers, then I think that would be okay. I think if it could just fit through those, now maybe I'd just try and bend the clips open a little bit. In fact, I think those two there would be the ideal place, so maybe that's actually what I'd try to do. I don't think they'll fit quite as they are, no. But I think if I could just open the edge of that a little bit, put them around there, so the tape goes across there, the Rotopax could still be in place and both those loops are free. I don't have a Rotopax. The Rally seems to have a big enough range that I don't think I'll need it just yet, but if you are using the Enduristan panniers with a CRF300L and you want the extra fuel capacity, then that might be worth something to bear in mind. That is my video on how to fit the Rally Raid rack to the Honda CRF300L or CRF300 Rally. They're both the same from this point back, so it'll be exactly the same. A couple of other things to point out. The weight limit listed on here is 8 kilos. I think that's because it's actually spreading the weight as it is. I think officially for the bike it's 5 kilos, but I'm sure they've done their testing for the rack. It will take a Rotopax. It does have some extra mounting holes. It's about the same weight as the Yamoto rack. It's definitely lighter than the Honda OEM or the H2C racks. You can just about use it for a handle to pull the bike if you had to. And yeah, I think it's certainly the best looking of the racks that are out there. And I know that you shouldn't necessarily buy things only based on how they look, but it's certainly very functional. I think the only reason why you might want to go for something bigger is if you had a big holdall that you were trying to attach to the top. There are loops, but it is a fairly narrow portion. It's probably only maybe 4 or 5 inches, 10 to 15 centimeters wide that you can actually put your loops around. But that is the only reason why I think you'd want to go for something bigger than this. The rest of the time, especially on this bike, I think it looks the business, and I'm going to leave mine on my bike. Anyway, I hope this has been interesting and useful. If it has, please like and subscribe if that's your thing. If not, that's fine too. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. So this is kind of an afterthought after I'd done the video. I'd done got most of my edit done, and then I suddenly wondered, I wonder how it works with my Enduristan Tail Pack. What I found is that actually it doesn't. Now that sounds silly because this has just got 4 loops and I'm sure there's a way to attach it. But what I found was that it's actually too wide to fit between the 4 here that would be the most obvious ones. And though I can just hook it around the edge, which I did try a moment ago, and I can put the ones on the front here like that as well. The problem is that because of the shape of it like that, it just slides off the back. So that kind of doesn't really work. So I think if I actually want to use this with it, what I'm going to have to do is actually take the hooks off, which is, exactly what it's made for, and just put the webbing around. The downside of that is that you do lose that ability just to take it on and off really quickly, which is a bit of a shame. So Just to add one final thing to the video is that if you do use the Enduristan Tail Pack, then this is probably not the most ideal rack. It did work better with the Yamoto one. Anyway, the Yamoto one was still better with this than the tubular ones, just simply because of the size of the loops. I will just add that to the end of the video for anyone that stays all the way to the end. Thanks.